Hi, my name is Kate. I'm here to share my experience as a survivor, which I call a warrior, of childhood sexual abuse, so we can feel less lonely together. I remember the first time I felt seen in my life, like fully seen. I was deep into my healing journey, and a friend recommended me this thing. It's like, hey, I go through this, and maybe you do too. It's called PMDD. I'm like, PMD what? PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder. And you should look into that. So I did what I do best, and I went full into research mode and read all the books that I could find, all the things, which weren't many. But I found this book that was actually very academic and just describing everything, and it had case studies. And one of the case studies took this girl mentioned how she would go into these episodes and have huge fights with the boyfriend or partner. And I remember she mentioning something like it was like out of nowhere she would just burst into rage and go and look everything from an outside perspective like it was a movie, and she would just fight and scream and just it was like a never ending fight. um and I remember thinking, yep, I have been her. That's me. And it was just like I felt it in my chest. I was like, wow, like I have never even allowed myself to speak those words, to say like I am, I sometimes become a monster, which is a word I'm not no longer use, but like when somebody said it, I was like, yeah, that's how I actually feel. So much shame, so much, so much pain around that. And anyways, when I read that, it was like opening this Pandora's box. I felt like fully seen, which was like a celebration, and I felt happy. I'm like, wow, I'm not a freak. I'm not the only one that goes through this. And then so much grief because nobody has who was ever nobody ever helped me see that, or I never saw it myself, and I never read it from anybody, and I always felt so lonely and so strange. I was always like la complicada when I was a kid, just complicated. But anyways, that was way before I knew even that I was a survivor. That same day, I went out with this bubbly, beautiful friend, and my baby's with me, and I told her like a celebration, like, look at what happened to me. I read this book. I have feel seen. I have never read about these things, and I now can feel I have a tool or a pathway to understand myself better. And it was like I said, that day when I went out with my friend, it was a celebration. I was just ecstatic, and she was so sweet and so understanding. She was like, "Oh, great for you! Yeah, that's so cool." And it was very sweet of her and her boyfriend to kind of like allow me to share that, which was very intimate, very deep. I always love to go deep. That's who I am. But anyways, so here I am, ready to share my story, which is our stories, because since then, I have only felt slightly seen as a CSA, as a childhood sexual abuse survivor. There's only some stories. I mean, there's the forums, there's this and that, but there's not anybody presenting themselves like fully, like, hey, this is me, this is what happened, this is how I felt, this is how it was like a kid, like all these parts where I'm like, yo, I wish I could have seen it. So here I am, imperfectly doing it from my heart, because I don't want anybody to feel alone. I want you to feel seen. Like, and this is way more normal that we, as a society, allow ourselves to speak about it. And like the French lady, Giselle Pelicot, I think, she said the shame has to change. Like we only keep silence because there's shame, and it's not on our side to it's not on us to carry that shame, or to even be able, always having to have like trigger warnings. My life is a trigger warning, because that feels as make me, at least makes me feel like, oh fuck, I cannot even like talk about it. So yeah, I hope you can feel seen. I hope this brings hope, and and some light into your journey.